Ross Dellinger, great college football reporter and insider for Sports Illustrated, had a report. This comes out on Monday morning, well timed, by the way. And it essentially talks about what's been rumored around the college football watering hole for a long time, and that is the powers that be had been meeting behind the curtain over there that you and I don't get to peek behind, and they've been talking about how to shorten games because apparently length of games is all of a sudden this existential crisis. It's a hard word to say. It's a harder concept to grasp. Let me tell you what Ross Dellinger reported. Again, he's the messenger here. He said they've come up with 4 proposals, and this is not final. This will go before a committee and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Here are the 4 proposals, 2 of which have broad support and you and I don't have a problem with. The first one is they're going to prohibit consecutive timeouts. So if you're lining up for a field goal, they can't burn all 3 of their timeouts in a row. That's cool. No one has a problem with that, or at least most people wouldn't. Second proposal, no untimed down at the end of the first quarter or third quarter. No one cares, hardly ever happens anyway. The third one, gonna have a little more pushback, but I still expect there to be a majority consensus approval on this, and that is the clock runs after first downs, except inside of 2 minutes. That's the NFL rule, and people have called for that for a while. Some people, not all people, but I think if they do that, largely you won't even notice the difference because, again, it's the NFL rule. When you get inside 2 minutes before halftime and before the end of the game, the clock does stop on first downs. That's how it would work in college football. In the NFL, they've done that for a long time. So here's the fourth one. The fourth one's completely absurd. The fourth one is the clock runs on an incompleted pass once the ball is spotted. That fundamentally alters the game for no reason whatsoever. So here's what happens in college football. College football essentially is a bunch of people who threw a rock through a window and they broke the glass, and then they screamed to the neighborhood, "We got to fix this problem over here." And everyone knows you caused the problem. Like, I look at length of game, and I look at the argument they're making, and I think about 2 different things. The length of the football game is not all that different than how long a football game took to play in 1997. You're talking about the difference in a couple of minutes. And you may say to me, "Josh, that's not possible because I watch these games and they last way longer." Yes, the presentation of the game lasts way longer. I'm asking you, is it the trappings around the game? Is it the formatting of the game? Or is it the game itself? Because if you understand formatting of broadcasts, then you understand why games take so long now. If you understand how absurdly long a lot of review processes happen unnecessarily, then you understand why games take so long. And sometimes they go 3.5, 3:45, sometimes 4 hours. Doesn't need to be that way. There are very simple tweaks that you could make. Unfortunately, some of those tweaks would involve you giving up a little money. And this group of folks, in no shape, form, or fashion, is ever going to explore any kind of possibility that costs them a cent. That's not going to happen. Mind you, my evidence is this is the same group of people that claim to be needing to shorten games for player safety as they're about to expand a playoff and ask some teams to have to play 17 games to win a championship. No one cares about player safety, or at least if you do, you're being disingenuous with your proposed solutions. The answer is simple. The reason the games take longer is because you got longer ad breaks, commercial breaks, as you would call them. You have also got games that don't kick off at the top of the hour. I'll give ESPN credit. ESPN kicks off their noon game at noon. You've watched College Game Day before, and as soon as they come out of College Game Day, they toss to the stadium, teams are lined up, they kick it off because they got to get that thing out of the way by 3:30. But by and large, what happens? And I'll tell you what has happened. What has happened is if you factor in, let's just say 10 commercial breaks. There are more than that. I'm just going to be conservative on the estimates here. 10 commercial breaks. You add one 30-second ad break more per game. That's 5 minutes of extra time in that game. You've then added reviews into games. We didn't used to have reviews. We have reviews now. And I don't know how long on average those take. I'm going to say, let's just say you've got 5 minutes of reviews in a game. Some are way longer. Some may not be that long. I just added 10 minutes to a game. The intro from a broadcast presentation perspective and tosses to break and the way that halftime has subtly been fattened a little bit because all of those rights have been sold, that adds you another 5 or so minutes. And I'm getting conservative on these estimates. I just added 15 minutes to a game and I didn't change a thing about the football field. I didn't change a thing about the rules. I didn't change a thing about the game. Broadcast television and a lot of the formatting of the way the game is structured for television is the reason your games are taking so long. If you want to shorten games, you don't have to screw with the game itself. Your answer's in the mirror. There's nothing on that field that needs to be altered. And again, I'm telling you, I don't have a problem with 2 of those proposals. Really probably wouldn't have a problem with a 3rd proposal. But you're talking about fundamentally altering a game that's perfectly fine for reasons that are well within your control. And it's absurd. And for the record, I don't expect that 4th rule to pass. I think even if you read Ross Dellinger's report, he made sure to characterize these as really sort of still being on the table. He made sure to qualify that 4th rule proposal as being one that is getting the most pushback. He said the 3rd one, the NFL first down rule, is kind of 50-50. The 4th one's getting a lot of pushback. It should. It's stupid. It's not the way football should be played. An incomplete pass, to remind you what the rule is. I want you to imagine like a minute and change left in a game. And it's 2nd and 10. You're out of timeouts. And you throw an incomplete pass, like 35 yards downfield. They are just suggesting once that ball's spotted, clock keeps running. That fundamentally alters football. Stupid. Should not ever work that way. And the other question I ask is, where is this line of people? Where is this army of people that think it's such an existential threat that games last a little bit longer? Now, I'm with you. I'm normally in a stadium. I'm normally on the sideline. You may be at home. You may be in a stadium. None of us like how long commercial breaks are, but I get that this is a for-profit industry. I benefit from it. It would be very hypocritical of me to say, shame on these networks for generating all this revenue. That's how I get paid. I get that. So I'm not being hypocritical. What I am saying is the formatting of the game is the problem, not the game itself. And the other thing that I would ask is, even having said all that, like, there are a lot of problems that the typical fan, you guys, have with this game. Length of game is never what you complain to me about. You complain to me about process-related issues all the time. You hate the way targeting is or isn't enforced. You don't like conference realignment for the sake of the almighty dollar. These are things I hear about from you daily, hourly. I tried to think earlier today. We open a mailbag to you every week. It's the way we format this presentation, actually, the Late Kick Extra podcast. I have yet to have one of you ask me what we should do about the length of games. I kid you not. Not a single one of you has ever asked me that. And yet I got a group of folks who have never buckled a chin strap in their life, who meet behind closed doors, who are claiming that length of games, that's the biggest threat facing the sport right now. That is priority 1A that we have to address. And it's just absurd. So to answer the question, I didn't think much of the report at all. The reporting was great. It's not a knock on Ross Dellinger. I'm saying what he was forced to report, which is just the facts. The facts kind of suck, especially the 4th fact. Kind of sucks, and I hope it doesn't make it anywhere past that report. The other ones I'm fine with. Other ones I'm totally fine with. I mean, reviews, those things could be overhauled immediately. It is so dumb that we take officials off the field and still have them put on a headset and watch a monitor when the NFL's got that figured out. Someone in New York could be doing that. You don't even need to leave. Just stand on the field, get ready for the next play, and wait for that voice in your ear to tell you whether the play stands or not. It's so simple. It's almost like we're theatrical in the way that we make officials go through the review process. It's dumb. If we were to reinvent the game today, we would never have it operate that way. I would also argue, if you want to find a little extra time, I probably would not reinvent the game today and make halftime as long as it is. But if you've sold halftime advertising and naming rights to Ford or Chevy or Target, then all of a sudden, we can't cut into the profits. We can't do that, but I better keep my mouth shut because, again, that's how we generate revenue around here as well. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you, but most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.